Welcome back. Hey, how you doing? How did we get here? Where are we at? Where are we going? So I'm going to start with Godfather 3. That's the first one I'm making. It's Godfather 3. And you'll understand in a minute. Because I am going to be future orientated, even though I'm not young by a long stretch. Somebody told me yesterday when I was working that I was young. He was 83. So I don't think so. But anyway, let's go. We are in a very important moment in history. I guess that could be true of anything. They're all important. But what reasons being is we're headed towards a time when the empire is going to change hands. The empire that runs the world is in the process of changing hands. When I was born in 1960, the United States of America was the empire. They were the boss. They were the boss. They had a rival, a big rival, a very effective rival at that time, the Soviet Union, and they were fighting it out. And then sometime in around 20, when I was in my early 20s, the Russians started falling back, and by the time I was in my early 30s, Russia collapsed, and it was horrific. Millions died. We're not told that. Millions died, and so forth and so on. And there are videos about the people who were behind it, and they talk about it. And I'm not going to talk about that. All right? So they fell. They never, at that time, they never had, the Russians were not the world reserve currency. They didn't have the currency. They weren't concerned with that. They competed with us with their, they would go to a country and say, we'll back you up. We'll help you. You guys be communist. And we'd say, we would go to a country and we would bribe some leader, give him all kinds of stuff, and tell him that, we were going to build something for him and build a great big project. And then after the project was built, then we would start charging the people an arm and a leg for the stuff and put them in debt peonage. Then finally they fought back, and that's where we're going. That's what's happened. Those people are tired of it. They're tired of being done like that, right? So as time has passed, America's hegemony, if you will, has fell, right? We beat Germany. Russia and the United States beat Germany. 15 million Germans died, is what they tell me. 15 million. That's not a little about. 25 million Russians died in that war. And they tell me that 1 million Filipinos died. 15 million Chinese died. 10 million Japanese died. I mean, it's horrific. It was horrific, horrific, horrific. Any worse thing you could imagine. Whole cities were destroyed. Whole cities, people starved to death. All that happened, right? So then after that, all these people got around the table and they said, well, we don't want to do that again, right? So let's give our people a break. So we're going to make it in the United States. We got lots of money. And in Europe, we're going to give these people a break. We're going to let them, if they work, if they show they'll work, let's say 40 hours. I don't know where they got the number from. It's just 40. I think there was a 40 days in the Bible. I don't know where the hell they got it, but it's 40. So if he will work 40 hours, we'll pay him enough money where he can pay for a house so his wife can live there, so she can be home for the kids when they get home from school, and everything will be great. They'll grow up. The kids will have a good education. We're going to pay for the kids to have an education too. We're going to learn them. We're going to learn them to write, read, and arithmetic. We're going to learn them, right? I'm just speaking in colloquial English. So all that happened, and it was great. And I was born as that trajectory, because they started doing that in sometimes the late 40s or early 50s. So the time I was there, it was going. I was born in a base in Savannah, Georgia, and I had an older brother and a younger brother, And I remember when we had moved, by that time we moved to Germany, interestingly enough. We moved there. And that's where I lived. I remember we lived out in a city with a German family, and then Dad got us on the base. And we lived on a base, and we had a great big apartment that we lived in. And I recall going to school, walking to school, walking home from school to get lunch, and walking home, and Mom was there. My mother, she was comfortable. She made me feel comfortable. She made sure I had enough food to eat. She made sure I was happy, and she loved me, and everything was good. All right. So that went on till about the 70s sometimes, till I was in my 20s. Then all of a sudden, all these big shots got in a meeting. All right. And they said, man, these people are doing good. We're having a social democracy. We've got a social democracy here. In fact, Michael Parenti described it that way. That's what he actually said. They said those words, social democracy. We don't need that, right? We don't need these people retiring at 62 and having a blast. So then what did they do? They decided that over time, what they did was they took all those good jobs, moved them to another part of the world, Mexico, China, because meanwhile, the Chinese communism collapsed with the Russians. So the Chinese made a deal. So they started sending all those jobs over there and rebuilding that. And the Chinese, from 1970 till now, took 600 million people out of poverty. They have decent jobs. They have a decent lifestyle. They're expecting it, right? But us over here, we're not doing as well. The real rich people are doing well, and maybe the top 10, 20% are doing well, but the rest of us are not doing as well. And we're wondering what's going on. When this was all done on purpose, there was no accidents here. Believe me. If you can build a nuclear power plant, and you can build a highway, you can build a computer, you can build a phone that'll do more than you're not dumb. They know. So here we are now. I told all that. So the Chinese and the Americans are still the bosses in their particular spheres, and the Americans are the bosses, and they think that they run every fucking thing. Excuse my language. So they've decided the last, I'd say, maybe 15 years, one thing they decided to do was to keep making war, to try to get all the resources in the world for them, the oil mostly, right? Because all this is fueled by oil. And the Russians, meanwhile, while all this stuff was going on, and America was busy killing Arabs, right? They were real busy with that. That's a fun activity, evidently, because they did a lot of it. You know, as Abraham Lincoln said, God must have loved poor people because he made so many of them. So it's the same kind of thing. We must love killing Arabs because we killed so many of them. We were busy killing Arabs. Meanwhile, Russia was getting their shit together, right? They got their shit together. They started building weapons. They're smart. They did shit. They got their people somewhat organized. I mean, because so many of them died. You know, it was like they told me, I heard this in a show once, that from the 90s, from the early 90s, the age of an average Russian went from 73 to 57. So a bunch of people my age dropped dead in Russia. Okay. So now, here we are. The Russians and the Chinese are talking about a military pact. Lavrov, they're trying to go down there and make their own dollar. Putin is saying the dollar's doomed. So, yeah, this is not looking too good. This is not looking good. This looks like we're next on the chopping block. So I don't know how any of that's going to work out, but I'm concerned. So that's where we're going. We could have that. Now, I have a very intelligent relative says that he thinks this could go on for 140 years, but I don't think so. I don't think you could pay for all these pensions, pay for all these old people's health care, all these kids' education, all these factories, all these roads, all the stuff we need when we're 22 trillion, when the government's 22 trillion and everybody else is in debt. All the people are in debt. I think something's going to hit. So We'll just have to see. But that's how it happened. There wasn't no accidents. This just didn't happen. People that are in charge are not stupid. If somebody tells you how stupid people are, they're the ones that are stupid, or they're trying to hustle you. Okay? So that's all I got to tell you today.